Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the bio panel discussion session. Today's main objective is to give you a thorough explanation of how you are going to answer questions related to command words which was taught to you in the first session. This is Galiba Miss from Villa International High School, and we have here very experienced bio teachers here. I'll let them introduce themselves.
Assalamu alaikum. I am Mohammad Zaki Sharif, working in Ahmadiyya International School, and I have 27 years of teaching experience, and the last 10 years I have been working in Maldives, handling A-level students.
I'm Janet Sharif. I'm from CHSC, and today I'm here to give some points on the discussion which is going on here about biology.
So let us begin. First, before we begin, dear students, for every bio session you should always be prepared. So please get your notebook and pens ready to make notes while the session is going on. Parents, please make sure that your child is seated, preferably near a table, so that it will be easy for them to take notes. So shall we begin now? We'll be having a look at the command words. So the first command word which we are going to be having a look at is give, state, name. This is a very direct question, but if you have the question that we have selected is very different. We have a Venn diagram in here. Yes, a Venn diagram in bio. So that may come as well. So let's have a look at the question. Polynucleotides include DNA and messenger RNA, mRNA. Some components of polynucleotides are found in both DNA and mRNA. Other components are found only in DNA or mRNA. A Venn diagram can be drawn to represent information shown. So the question says complete this Venn diagram by writing the name of two components in each part of the diagram. So Jannat Miss, can you explain how they can do this?
Yes, thank you, Galiba Miss. So as Galiba Miss mentioned, it's a Venn diagram in biology. It's a quite different way of assessing students with a Venn diagram, a visual aid where students can represent the knowledge that they have, transfer it into a visual form. So here, Venn diagram is not new to our A-level students. It is being introduced to them in their O-level mathematics. So everyone know what a Venn diagram is. It will contain two or more circles intersecting one another. So in this case we have two circles intersecting one another, and if you look into the question, the Venn diagram contains one of the area which represents DNA only, and another area which is for mRNA only, and the intersecting point in the middle which is for the common features for mRNA and DNA only. mRNA and DNA both. So here this one is about the command word give, state and name. So if we look into this command word, this is the most simplest way of asking a question to student, stating name in it. So this falls into the knowledge level. If you look into our IAL specification, the assessment objectives, it goes into AO1 actually, so which is about the knowledge, the transferring the knowledge and understanding of the students about a scientific area. So here the knowledge that they have about the nucleotides, the polynucleotides, DNA and RNA, which they have studied in their school, in their biology lessons. So here the knowledge that they require is polynucleotide DNA or RNA is made up of many mononucleotides, and you have studied, students, they have studied that a mononucleotide is made up of three components, that is a phosphate group in it, and a pentose sugar, and also a nitrogenous base, where the phosphate group is common for both the DNA and RNA. However, the the pentose sugar differs. For DNA it is deoxyribose, and for RNA it is ribose. and the nitrogenous base, they have studied that DNA and RNA, these polynucleotides contain nitrogenous bases, adenine, thymine, cytosine, guanine and uracil. And they would also have the idea that DNA contain adenine, and adenine bonds always with the thymine only, but in the case of RNA, adenine bonds with the uracil instead of thymine. So, in the DNA, thymine is found and RNA, uracil is found instead of that. So, here this knowledge they can transfer it to this Venn diagram.
It's okay. So, Zakir sir, do you want to add to that one?
One common mistake students do is when they write adenine, see they expect you to write adenine complete name, right? Guanine, cytosine and thymine. But some students they use abbreviation for adenine, A for adenine, G for guanine, C for cytosine and T for thymine. So don't use abbreviations, you have to write the whole name, right? Adenine with proper spelling. So that's one mistake, otherwise it's okay.
Something else I want to add here. So, here this is a Venn diagram assessing the students. Venn diagram is a visual form that the students can actually use to revise as well, to make the notes and keep it displayed in their bedrooms or in the living rooms. This is a very like a useful visual way of representing information, so that they can use this as a revision material as well.
So, the Venn diagram is just a fancy word, isn't it, to suggest compare and contrasting similarities and differences, isn't it? Interesting. So, let's move on to the next question. So, next command word that we are going to have a look at is describe. Blood flows to the heart during the cardiac cycle. Describe how the events of the cardiac cycle change when the demand of body cells for oxygen increases.
Okay, thank you, Galiba Miss. What is described here? You are going to give an account of something. So, having said that, okay, there are two ways of handling this particular thing. Okay, so I'll go to the first one. What is given in the question? So, everyone knows what is cardiac cycle. What is cardiac cycle? The rhythmic contraction and relaxation of atria and ventricles during one complete heartbeat. Rhythmic contraction and relaxation of atria and ventricles during one complete heartbeat. And it involves three stages. What are the three stages? Okay, atrial systole, ventricular systole and complete diastole. So, for a normal healthy individual, right, the usual time for cardiac cycle once is, it will be around 0.8. It varies, but still we will take tentatively 0.8 seconds. Okay. Now, so the question is, describe how the events of the cardiac cycle change when the demand of body cells for oxygen increases. Okay, we will take a situation. Assume you run a race. At the end of the race, just tell me how your heartbeat is going to be. How are you going to breathe? Will you be breathing normally as we are now? You will be literally panting. You may not be breathing through your nose. You will be, right, literally panting, breathing through your mouth. And not only that, you can feel the heartbeat, right? Right at the end of the race, you can see it will be so hard and fast. You can feel dang. You hear the noise actually, right? At other times you don't feel. Okay. Now this is what's happening. But the question is, right, what happens to the events of the cardiac cycle when the demand? Now there is a demand for oxygen, so what happens? These things happen. Okay. Now how does the cardiac cycle respond here? So what will happen? Because the heart beats faster, the duration of the cardiac cycle decreases, shortens. So this is one thing. And the second one, you see, right, you feel the heart beating. Why is it so? Right? Because the ventricle pumps the blood with greater force. The ventricle pumps the blood with greater force. So what happens? Right? The force increases. So please don't say the heart beats faster or the heart pumps faster. Don't use the word heart. Okay, you have to be very specific in saying the ventricle.
Yeah, I would like to emphasize on that. As said, this was also given in the examiner's report actually. The common mistake that most of the students did here, those who got it wrong, was giving the answer in terms of heart rate, talking about the changes in the heart rate. They say heart rate is faster. It would be rather wrong if they say that. So it would be always better to read the question and focus on what they actually ask.
So here they ask about the events of the cardiac cycle. So you have to focus on only cardiac cycle. Yeah.
So the main reason why when during exercise they breathe a lot is
Yeah.
because of the short cardiac cycle, isn't it, sir?
Yeah. So the second part of the described question is, okay, sometimes they will give you a graph or they will give you data. Okay, so handling them will be completely different. So where you're going to go for overall trend, a subtrend, and manipulation. Okay, point of manipulation. So this will be discussed in session 2, right? There is another one coming up. So you can watch that in that.
Yes, the next command word that we have chosen is compare and contrast. So the question is, water is a solvent for the transport of sodium chloride and glucose in the blood. The graph shows the effect of temperature on the solubility of sodium chloride and glucose in water. And it says that you have to compare and contrast the effect of temperature on the solubility of sodium chloride and glucose in water.
So here in this question, as students can see on the screen, it's a graph question and a graph is given here. And whenever the students are provided with a graph, they should be making the maximum interpretation from the graph. Actually here, if you look into the graph, in the x-axis it is given temperature, and which is the independent variable of the investigation, which is actually being varied. And in the y-axis it is given the solubility. So here the question is giving you information about the solubility of sodium chloride and glucose as the temperature varies or as the temperature increases. So when we look into the command word here, it is compare and contrast, the phrase actually, the compare and contrast. And in our IEL specification, it falls into A or 2B actually. So this actually means, even though here you are not required, or students are not required to make a conclusion, they need to analyze the data given in the graph. So basically compare and contrast means giving similarities and differences. So here for 3 marks, the students need to give 1 similarity, 2 differences, or they need to give 2 similarity or 1 differences. So either way, it has to be for 3 marks. So students need to be focusing on marks as well while they are answering to the questions. So if you look into the graph here, it shows as temperature increases, the solubility of both glucose and sodium chloride increases. That would be a very good similarity that you can directly observe from the graph. You don't have to go into any explanation there. And for the difference, you can see, even though it is increasing as it is visible in the graph, the increase is not quite the same. For sodium chloride, it increases linearly. You can see it's linearly, whereas it's not the same story for glucose. It increases exponentially, not linearly. And the other thing that students might want to focus here is the solubility, what is happening to the solubility of it. For glucose, the solubility is increasing greater when we compare to sodium chloride, as you can see it from the graph actually. So these are the similarities and differences that the students can talk about this one.
Sir, do you want to add?
Yeah, and so just remember V for victory. So what does each finger refers to? Okay, especially compare and contrast. First thing is, okay, the first finger shows, okay, you have to write 1 similarity and 2 differences, or 1 difference, 2 similarity, but it should include at least 1. That's the first one. And the second one is, there should be a linking word. What is the linking word? While. This is like this, while, this is like this, okay. While, whereas, but, however. So these are the linking words. Please don't make any statements. You make statements, it will be wrong. I had seen some of the papers where students write something and put a full stop and then write the next one. The moment you put the full stop, understand you have lost the mark, because you never follow the command word. What is the command word? Compare and you have to compare.
Yeah.
Okay, so please stick on to the command word.
I would like to add something to this. So here, when students are giving answer, one of the common mistakes that they do is just giving, for example, when they're comparing, just giving a statement for glucose and not talking about sodium chloride. It has to be for both, right?
Both.
And when they are giving the answer, they should make sure that, for example, if 2 variables are given, if 2 things are given, a statement should be made for each one of it to score full mark.
Exactly, exactly.
So compare and contrast simply means write down similarities and differences. Moving on to the next question, calculate. Now this is important. Now in our new syllabus, 10% of the questions are related to calculations. It's very important for you to know basic calculations related to bio. Yes, a bio paper, but 10% of it calculations are involved. So the question says, water is a solvent for transport of sodium chloride and glucose in the blood. The formula mass of sodium chloride is 58.44. Calculate the molecular mass of glucose using the information in the table. 2-mark question.
Okay, so coming to calculation, right? Calculation, as Miss has told you, 10% of a paper, whichever paper it is, right? Unit 1 to Unit 6, right? Each paper, right? There will be 10% of questions, right? Asking you the calculations. Okay. Now, what is calculate here? Obtain numerical answers for the problem that is given, right? You have to obtain the numerical answers for the problem given. Okay. Now, coming to this particular question, okay, they had given the formula mass of sodium chloride is 58.44. Calculate the molecular mass of glucose using the information in the table. Okay. Now the table says, okay, I'll just use the flipboard. See, for answering this, you need to have the basic knowledge. What is the basic knowledge? You need to know the molecular formula of glucose first of all. See, if you know the molecular formula of glucose, then only you can answer this question. Very, very simple question, but you should know this. Okay. Now, so what is the molecular formula of glucose? It is C6H12O6. Okay. So C6H12O6. Okay. Now they had given the atomic mass for carbon. So what is atomic mass for carbon? So it is 12. The atomic mass of hydrogen is 1. And the atomic mass of oxygen is 16. So what you do, so you are going to just multiply this and get the answer. Simple and straightforward. You don't have to worry at all. Okay. So what we do, see, we will go for carbon first. So how many carbon here? 6. So 6 multiplied by, what is the atomic mass? 12. Put a bracket. Plus, next one, hydrogen, right? How many are there? 12. And what is the atomic mass? 1. So 12 into 1 plus oxygen, how many are there? 6. And what is the atomic mass? 16. So 6 into 16. Okay. So this one is 72, this one is 12, and this one is 96. So what is the answer we are getting? 180. So it's simple and straightforward, but you need to know the molecular form of glucose, then you can do it. It's a very easy question.
Yes, thank you, sir. So for this calculation question, we are required to know biochemistry as well. Maths, biochemistry both.
Exactly.
Let's look at another calculation question. So here it says that calculate how many times greater the molecular mass of glucose is than the formula mass of sodium chloride. Nowadays, these ratio questions are very, very common. So, Zakir sir?
Yeah. 1 second. So I'll just work. Okay. Now, see, we know the formula mass of sodium chloride, which is 58.44, right, for sodium chloride. And for glucose, already we have worked out. Okay, for glucose, let me write glucose. It is 180, we have calculated. So how many times greater the molecular mass of glucose? They are asking how many times this one, glucose, is greater than, right, the formula mass of sodium chloride. What do you do? Take the higher value, right, the glucose, right? So 180 divided by, what is the formula mass of sodium chloride? 58.44. Straight away divide and you get the answer. So the answer would be 3.08, right, or 3.1 or 3, you can write. Okay, so that's it. But always to write the exact value. That's always better. Okay, so this is how you are going to do. So what you do always, right, because they are asking about glucose, so put the value of glucose for, right, and you're going to divide with, right, the sodium chloride.
Thank you, sir. Jannat, would you like to tell us about some common errors students make when they are answering maths or calculations?
Okay. So when students doing the calculations, so for example, in this question, According to the examiner's report, one of the common mistakes that the student did was, instead of dividing the two molecular masses, they subtracted. And another mistake that the students do is not giving the unit most of the time. And as Galiba emphasized that a lot of calculations are asked, about 10% of your papers are calculations now. So you can be given an unknown formula as well. However, whatever you are required to answer that questions will be given in the stem of the question. So you need to read the stem of the question.
And one more thing actually, if they ask you, emphasize you to show the working, you have to show the working. You have to show the working with the units. Okay.
So to conclude, show the working and write the answers.
Exactly.
If units are given,
You
write
have to
the
write the
units.
unit. Yeah, forget the unit, they will penalize you.
Yes, very bad. Now, next question, suggest. Suggest questions, students find it quite challenging to answer. So that's the reason why we have chosen this question. So the question says, suggest why there is a difference in the solubility of sodium chloride and glucose in water.
Okay, so here this is again a question related to what we have discussed before, the graph, and by looking at the graph and also after comparing the solubility of sodium chloride with the glucose, students are well aware that the solubility for both increases, and for glucose the solubility is greater than that of sodium chloride. So here they need to give the explanation to this. Okay. So when we look into the command word, it suggests, it says, so suggest, if we look into our IAL specification, it goes to A or 2A actually. So here the students need to transfer the knowledge that they already know to an unfamiliar, they might be asked to transfer it to an unfamiliar context or a familiar context. So either way the students need to be ready. So here the familiar things to them that they have studied in their school, the biology lessons would be about the property of water, the solubility of water. So the solvent property of water they have studied, like we know a lot of things dissolve in water, and glucose, for example, is a polar substance that dissolve in water. And they can't just finish the answer by saying glucose is polar. They have to say why glucose is polar. Glucose is polar because it has these hydroxyl groups which are polar groups, and this they're called polar because they have unequal distribution of charges in them. Slightly negative oxygen and slightly positive hydrogen is there. So this unequal distribution of charge make it polar, and because of this unequal distribution of charges, the hydroxyl groups of glucose are able to form hydrogen bond with water, and that make actually it very soluble. In the suggestion questions, actually the students' answer need to be logical. One is they can be asked to suggest from the information that they know, they have already learned, or it might be applying what they have studied with something which is not related, or something that they have studied from their physics or chemistry or anywhere else, the general knowledge.
Would you like to add to it?
Yeah, and one more thing actually, some common mistakes. See, we had seen glucose molecule is larger and sodium chloride is smaller, and there is a wrong notion. Some students think, okay, if it is a larger molecule, it takes a lot of time to dissolve, and the smaller means it takes less time. So that also you have to just be careful. And the suggest question, very important thing here is, okay, think out of the box. So we got to think out of the box, because totally unfamiliar situation they are going to give you, and you have to fit yourself into that particular. Okay, any logical answer to the situation will be correct. Okay, anything logical, right? You should justify, yes, I'm writing, this is really logical. Then in that case you decide, because in marking scheme you will not see all the because suggest questions they can't give everything actually. There might be some nice answers, but they can't put all the answers. Okay, that is one thing. And I just want to give another example to this actually. Okay, one past paper question, it is about mitosis. Okay, they asked about during anaphase what happens to the plant cell or something like that. Okay, it was a routine, right? And they have asked about what changes happen during anaphase. So you write the points. And the next question is a suggest question. You know, the question is very interesting. Okay, it goes like, okay, when you say something as eukaryotic, eukaryotic cells means U means true. Karyon means nucleus. So they need to have a well-defined nucleus. And prokaryote means they don't have nucleus, you know, the bacteria is an example. But this one, if you look at anaphase, you don't find any nucleus, you find only chromosomes, okay, and the spindle fibers. Okay, how can you say, suggest reasons, right, why this cell is still considered to be eukaryotic? So if they ask you like this, so it's a totally unfamiliar. You have learnt about, let's say, what happens during prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. But this is a totally unfamiliar situation. So what you do, think logically, right? So what are the things, right? Other than this, what else is found in the cell? Okay, what else is found in the cell? Membrane-bound organelles, right? Endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi bodies, mitochondria. You can write. And this we are talking about the root tip. Root tip means plant cells will have the cell wall which is made up of cellulose. So that is also one character. So cellulose, right? Cellulose cell wall is one characteristic feature. And apart from that, you have the chromosomes. You know, chromosomes are the characteristic features of eukaryotic cell. This is also there. And one answer which I don't know, it's completely different. Okay, some students they think, right, it might be wrong or something like, but that might be right. You know, the one of the marking points says, anyway, after this stage, the nucleus will reappear. So you have to, right, because see, this is a logical, so they will give you award in the marks actually. So be careful. So suggest means always think out of the box. Yeah, anything logical? Yes.
So meaning that in order for them to ask suggestion questions, they still need to know the background knowledge, isn't it? And then apply it to the suggestion questions, isn't it? So next command word is very, very important, explain question. So the question here says that paramecium are single cell organisms that live in pond water. The photograph shows a single paramecium as seen using a light microscope. Question is, water enters the paramecium. The contractile vacuole pumps water back into the paramecium, out of the paramecium. Explain why water enter the paramecium. Now the question has given you three structures, very important to remember. Cell membrane is shown, contractile vacuole is shown, cytoplasm is shown. So that should be like key ideas which you need to know, isn't it, sir, in order for them to answer the question.
Yeah. So coming to this explain type of questions, okay. Now some common, okay, I'll just say what is explain first. Okay, explain means you have to give a proper reason. You have to give a proper justification, right, for what change you see, right? Okay. And the common mistake that we find is, right, sometimes they will give a graph or something like that, and the students, right, they start describing actually, right? Explain means you have to say the reason, don't, right? See, the difference between describe and explain is, describe what you see is describe, right? The changes and those things. Explain means, what are the reasons for the change? Don't say what it's happening. Okay, that's describe. They are not going to award you marks if you go to write describe. Okay, what are the reasons? Why is it happening like this? So when you see a logical explanation of the reason for this, then it is an explain question. Okay, so coming to this particular question, the question says, explain why waters enter the paramecium. Everyone knows. Okay, water means naturally osmosis. What is osmosis? So what is the definition of osmosis? Osmosis is, okay, the net movement of, first one, net movement of free water molecules from a region of higher water potential to a region of low water potential through a partially permeable membrane until equilibrium is reached. So this we know. Okay. Now, why would water enter into the cell? Is there any reason? So what is the reason here? In this case, so where is the paramecium? The paramecium is in pond water. So what kind of solution is it? It's hypotonic. It means the water potential is greater there than, let's say, you have to give a comparative statement. Okay, so like in paramecium, it is hypertonic. So what would happen? Naturally, water will always move from hypotonic to hypertonic. It means from region of higher water potential to a region of low water potential. Okay, so this is how you are going to handle this particular question. Okay, say the reason for this, right? Whatever.
So, sir, this is like a new area in the specification, isn't it, talking about water potential, because previously we did not have water potential related to current question. Any other additional points that they can include for water potential? Can they write about solute potential?
Yeah, solute, okay. Now, see, some students, again, there are some students write like, a movement of water molecule from a higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. Please don't bring concentration. Right, concentration we always mean solute. Okay, if you want to mean the solute, in that case what you can say, right, water moves from a low solute concentration to a high solute Yeah, high solid concentration. It means, see, low solid concentration means higher water potential. So always know it's better to stick on to water potential instead of going for a solute, or please don't use the word concentration.
Here, once again, I would like to emphasize on something that Sir started when he started with the question, explanation for that. Here, this is an explanation question where students sometimes tend to describe, and while we as teachers we mark the papers, we see for some of the description questions students sometimes starts to explain. For example, if a graph is given, they tend to explain. So as humans, sometimes we actually have this idea, whenever you ask a question, they want to check your knowledge, how well you know about it. So most of the time, not all the time, it is assessing, Edexcel assessing how well you know about a concept. Knowledge level questions, knowledge and understanding, this goes to just around 37% of the total, right? And you can, in addition to that, you will be asked to transfer the knowledge that you know, and you can be asked to analyze by giving certain data set, a graph or table. You can be asked to analyze, you can be asked to look into various different aspects and come into conclusion, that is evaluating. And also at a very top level, you can be asked to use the knowledge that you know, and also use the skills that you have gained throughout, right? And create something, right? So that's at very top level. That would be the AO3 of the assessment criteria. Right?
There are different levels in explanation question. So because of the importance of explain command word, we'll have a look at another question related to explain. So it says that explain the importance of the contractile vacuole in the perimeter. I think they will need to relate the knowledge in the question, the stem for this one, right, sir?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Now, I don't know how many of you have seen paramecium, right? Some people, they don't know what is paramecium also. It's a protozoan.
That is about bio, right? Only through microscope we see the material.
So paramecium, when you look at it, it's a protozoan, like amoeba, it's a protozoan, unicellular organism.
Can we eat it?
No. Okay, you can't. Okay, so this paramecium, okay, we need to have a bit of background information actually. Okay, they don't have cell wall actually. They don't have, because it's animal actually. It doesn't have a cell wall. Okay, I want to bring a different situation. Then we'll go to this question actually. Okay, now we take two beakers, right, with just distilled water. Place a red blood cell in one. The other one we are going to place a plant cell. Okay, so what happens here? You know, right, water moves from a higher water potential to lower water potential. So what happens, right, as water enters into the red blood cell, what happens, it becomes turgid and it doesn't have anything to resist. What happens, it will burst. That's one thing. But coming to the plant cell, water enters inside, it becomes turgid. Because the cell wall is there to protect, what happens, it can't. Even though there is a difference in the concentration, still water can't enter inside. Okay, that's something. Now coming to this paramecium is like red blood cell I told you. Okay, so it doesn't have a cell wall. Why? And one more thing, it can't prevent the entry of water also inside. So what happens, as water enters inside, what happens, it doesn't have the cell wall to resist the turgor pressure. So it has to have some mechanism. What is the mechanism? Already in the stem of the question they had given. Contractile vacuole. What is the role of contractile vacuole? It pumps the water out. So that is the mechanism it has. So what happens? It pumps the water out. Why? For what reason? Otherwise it will burst. Okay. So what happens? It pumps it out. So what happens? Right? Maintain it. That's it. Okay. So you have to be careful, right? So the answer, right? Explain questions. Always be careful. Write a proper reason for what you are saying actually.
Explain means giving reason.
Exactly. And command words. When we say command words, okay, right? If you look at military, right? They give the command. What is the command? Okay. About turn. You know what is about turn means? And everyone, right, turns the
understands.
Right? Yeah. So what happened? One person turned to the left. What will happen? You don't follow the command. So, right. So follow the command. So you will get the marks.
Yeah. So I would like to add one more thing to this. So whenever an explanation question is given, sometimes we find students just writing. They have a lot of space in their paper. They keep writing. They keep on writing.
All that they point to the paper, isn't it?
So here, actually, while you're answering, always have a note of the marks given.
Exactly,
Right?
yeah.
So you have to consider that.
Okay, so don't write whatever you have learned. Okay, don't write, because see, actually, you know the content, but what to write and what not to write.
Sir,
Right, that
I
we
have
have
a
to be very
question.
careful. Yeah.
Do you think the examiners will read all that the students write?
Don't beat around the bush. Okay, don't beat
Yes.
around the bush. See what happens. You have to be very precise, right? Write the answer. Okay, they will give you a lot of lines actually, especially for 1 mark and 2 marks. You see,
Yeah.
they'll give a lot of lines, and the students write the answer and are confused. Oh, what to write? Right? Am I going to get the mark or what? And if you look at the 3 marks or 4 marks, the number of lines will be lesser. So you can see the very big disparity
Yeah.
Oh,
between
so
these
what
two.
you are saying
Yeah.
is number of lines is not
Yeah,
an
why they-
indication of how much they are going to write,
Yeah. So-
but marks.
Yeah, marks actually. So because the question right is 4 marks or 5 marks, right? They will give you the very less number of lines because you can't write stories. No stories. Straight to the point. Straight to the point. Get the marks. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you beat around the bush, examiner will beat around the bush to give you marks.
So they are, after all, they are humans too, right?
Yeah.
You have to make it
And
into.
yeah, make them comfortable, right? You have to understand the teacher psychology. They will be marking so many papers in a day, so you have to make them comfortable. If they are comfortable, right, you will get the marks.
Yes. So as Janet said, explanation questions have many different levels. So these are just what we have discussed is a 3-mark and 2-mark question. But there is another very important star question, level-based question mark. That one we will be having a look at in our next session. So to summarize what we have learned, look carefully at the command words. That's the most important thing that we want to highlight, and that's the thing where students are not scoring full marks because they do not follow the command as Zakir sir has said. In the question, and make sure that you are giving the right type of response. If it's an explanation question, don't describe. It should be an explanation with reasons. Always show working in calculation, as marks are often given for intermediate steps. So working should be given with the units. Make sure that you are applying your knowledge to answer the question that means set, rather than writing everything that you know. That's what Zakir also have said just now. Instead of writing it down, everything that you know to the point, be precise in writing your answer. That way, you can do that only by preparing yourself. From for the preparation part, we even gave you a presentation related to how you are going to prepare for the exam. So with good preparation, practice makes perfect. And last one, which we are going to answers often which require comparative statements, particularly when describing graph changes, make sure that you are using comparative words, faster, more slowly, leveling off. So important words which you may think that they are not important, but they are important in order for you to gain full marks. The main reason for this session is to increase how you are going to get better marks in the exam. And another very important thing which we want to highlight is time management. In bio, this is the most important thing, time management. As you all know that in bio papers, it's roughly 1 minute, 1 mark. So that means you have to be very well prepared in order for you to manage your time well. Sir, or
Yeah.
Jannat, please, you want to add?
You have to
Totally agree to that.
So the moment race starts, so you have to start running fast, okay, because you don't have time to relax, okay. So how are you going to achieve this? Okay, right? More the papers you practice actually, right? Some students, they write very slowly. I have seen at school, right? Very slowly, and I tell you, you may not be able to complete the paper, and you don't complete the paper. You know what happens? Okay, you know about the conversion of raw mark to UMS mark. Right, you get 50%, right? 50%, right? 50% might be you also in Excel, because when they convert to EMS mark, so you have to be very careful with that. So if you get around 60% or 70%, then you reach to some right? Let's say a reasonable grade. If you go right beyond that, right, you get A's and A stars and those things actually. Okay, so time management, you have to be really fast. Okay, don't slow down. Okay, time is very precious actually, and reading the question is another thing, right? Read the question properly, understand it. So once you understand the question, you have at least 50% of the answer.
Yes.
You understand the question, you have 50% of the answer ready with you. So that is again one more thing you have to be very careful with. Okay, and when are you going to get this, Madam?
Jannat?
Yeah. In a lot of questions, when the students go through, they might also have noticed this very long stems are given. A paragraph would be given, and each line in it is very important for them to answer the following questions. So as Sir said, it is very important for you to practice as many past papers possible, and most recent ones after the modification came to IL, most recent ones, make sure that you do most of the past papers, and when you are writing the answers, always look at the marks and be very precise in answering. That's what required of you, right? Being precise and make sure you write a quality answer, quality enough to score mark. Your examiners can't actually penalize you if you give a very quality answer to that.
So doing the past paper, actually, we are not sure whether you are going to get the same question or not. This will make you more comfortable when you see a paper, actually, right? More the papers, right? More the questions, because different type of questions you are subjected to. What happened? So when you go to the exam hall, you feel comfortable. Otherwise, what happened? You will be like, right? What is happening here? You might be getting upset also. So don't do that. Okay, do more papers.
Yeah, I would also like to highlight that, like in our theory class, Ghalibam is said, always be with your best friend, the specification, right?
Objectives, specification, objectives, very, very important. So to conclude, how you are going to revise: 1, summarize your work. Summarize your work means by looking at the notes, making your own notes. 2, reflect, active learning. Tell it to somebody, actively involved in making the notes. 3, test yourself. So testing yourself is doing past papers. So these are very good tips in how you can actually increase marks in there. Got it, sir. Why are you looking at me that way?
If you see, right, in the crowd, right, I could see, right, a lot of happy faces, but 1 or 2 faces are a bit sad. I don't know why. Any idea?
Is it because the exams are postponed?
Yes.
That means it's a good thing, isn't it? And exams are postponing. So that means they have more time for you to prepare. But make sure that although you have time, there is an additional unit that you are going to be doing, unit 4. So you have to start preparing from now itself, isn't it, sir?
So, and to finally conclude, you guys are going to rock.
Thank you.